Ian for the Metal Gods Meltdown, and today I am joined by.
Starr.
I want to congratulate you on the killer new album, Out of the Darkness. It's brilliant. I've been listening to it loads down the gym. How excited are you waiting for the release on April the 25th?
Yes, the album is coming out April 25th on Bravewords Records. And yeah, I'm pretty excited.
I mean, it's totally superb album with seasoned musicians. What keeps you guys motivated and able to still produce such an awesome album in your later years?
Well, well, I guess part of the problem is I don't have another talent. I can't start, selling insurance or becoming a school teacher or basically anything. This is it. This is what I do.
Definitely Black Sabbath feel to Hand of Doom, which is my favourite track on the album today. Even going into a little bit of Mr. Crowley, or am I mistaken?
Well, no, you're really not mistaken because, first of all, I later found out that there is a song by Black Sabbath called Hand of Doom,
That's
if
right.
I'm not mistaken. And I didn't know that. So that already was kind of an interesting coincidence, and it really was. The middle of the song, I did go into like a classical part. Uh, Classical meaning the chords. In musicology, that would be called the circle of fifths. It's and it's used a lot. Gary Moore's used it in that song, Still Got the Blues. A lot of people have used that chord pattern. And it's one of my favorites. And the first time that I heard that, I'm sorry I'm giving you such a long answer, but it was a classical composer named Pachelbel, a German composer, I think from the 16th or 16th century. But anyway, he used that circle of fifths. I fell in love with it when I first heard it. And whenever I get the chance to solo over it, I just find it really exciting, and it brings out like the melodic in me.
Underneath the Velvet Sky would have been on rotation on MTV in a day. It must be quite frustrating for you because it is totally amazing.
It's funny because I totally 100% agree with you. I think that could be a hit single if there was, still that scene that existed in the 80s.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, why the hell not? And funny that we were just talking about Circle of Fifths. That whole song is a direct borrow. I borrowed it from Pachelbel. D, A, B minor, F sharp minor, G, D, G, A. That is that song that they use at weddings. I think they call it Adagio in D. So whenever I get the chance, I just want to keep stealing those those chords. I love it.
So what about on release day? Do you have anything planned, like a live feed or anything like that?
Well, the album is going to write its own ticket. It's either going to do well enough for us to do a tour, and I'm, just like a decent tour. Anybody can tour. 16-year-old kids down the block can create a tour, but it's how bad do you want to do it? How bad do you want to rough it? And I don't mind roughing it to a certain degree, but there's got to be an audience that wants to see this performed live. I believe there will be, but I could be wrong. We can only, we put this stuff out there it's kind of like that old saying that, well, we're going to fly the flag and wait to see if anybody salutes it.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
they will. And of course, you're signed to Brave Records. How's that been? That's like they're a fairly new record label, aren't they? Brave Words Records.
uh, so far so good. They're getting behind it, and it's an honor to be on that label. They're associated with the magazine Brave Words that I used to read a lot, and if I could still get copies in America, I'd be reading it now. But I used to be easier for me to see the magazines. Oh, you got a black cat.
Yeah, that's Tabitha. She likes to make an appearance.
Nice. Very
Yes,
cool.
she's
Very
just gone
cool.
up there. All right, that's
Yeah,
cool.
so getting back, I mean, they're a good label, and they seem like very nice people, and I mean, everybody, you know, the publicist Michael Brandvold, the boss of the whole thing, Tim Henderson, and everybody really that I've met have just been really supportive, and you know, I think it's great because at my age to just keep putting out records, and to keep getting chances. It's like, all right, do it again. You're
Yeah,
getting you're getting better and better. And I actually think I am, which is kind of weird. Uh,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of albums, and they're getting better. I'm really at the point now where I think I think people that hear it are really going to like it. You know,
I think so, definitely. I mean, it's a kick-ass album.
yeah,
Actually, I don't know. It's probably about 15 years ago. I was going to talk to you about your collaboration with the Rhett Forrester album,
right.
but for personal reasons, I wasn't able to do the interview with you. But I wanted to chat to you for a very long time, and now this album's come out, and yeah, it's superb.
That was one of the defining moments in my life. Meeting Rhett, uh, us liking each other as people.
Yeah,
I mean, two people with nothing in common whatsoever, yet we met, and it was like, I like this guy. And I
yeah,
like this guy, but it was he was really I mean, I don't want to say the word, uh, a charming rogue, like a pirate. He's just like, man, I mean, that guy was, you don't see guys like him every day. He
yeah,
was, and a great singer, my God. And
absolutely.
it just came so naturally, you know. He'd, we'd be at a restaurant having breakfast, and he'd scroll a couple of ideas on a napkin, and then we go into the studio, 2 hours later. He takes out the napkin, and it was like mental notes that he
Yeah,
made on how he wanted to sing this particular song.
uh-huh.
So it was kind of like he was always thinking about music, live performances, all that stuff. And yeah, it's just like amazing, you know.
Amazing. You sort of hit on it earlier about being a musician. What do you think you would have done then for work if you hadn't been successful in the music industry?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. You know, I think that I would have done something maybe in the education uh, field, maybe be a teacher, uh, maybe be an author, you know.
Right.
I mean, I just bought a book yesterday by Pete Townsend, and I didn't even know he had written a book. It's a novel, and it's very, very engrossing. It's a really interesting book. So yeah, I would think I would have done something like that. And that's really what I tried to do with the Out of the Darkness part two. I wanted the lyrics to tell a story, and they do. And in fact, all of the songs together are actually related to each other. So when somebody really gets into the album, they'll start seeing the connection.
Amazing. So, of course, this album's not been released yet, but is there going to be a part three?
Hey, that's no one's asked me that question, but yeah, there should be. If this one does well, why not? Because I never ever thought there would be a part two. I mean, we're talking 40 plus years ago. It's just, especially back then, like when I was growing up, all the young people kind of had the attitude of hope I die before I get old, and no one thought they were going to live past 27.
No.
Yeah. In fact, there's this right. There's this guy back then named Abbie Hoffman, who was a kind of like a revolutionary, anti-establishment, and his whole mantra, his was, "Don't trust anyone over 30." So in the late 60s and early 70s, you would see people wearing T-shirts that said, "Don't trust anyone over 30." So this album is really kind of about that, us against them. Only instead of breaking it down by us being a certain chronological age, us refers to just an attitude, a will to live a certain way, a desire for freedom and liberty. And so that's, to me, is the new us. It's not about what was in the 60s, us meant, it was an age thing. Now it's not so much an age thing, which I'm happy about because I definitely would be out of it.
Okay. How glad are you to have started in the music industry when you did, back when you did, rather than in today's crazy world of social media?
Yeah, I think it was more organic. It was like, whatever you did, it was based on your talent, not, like the divas of today. And I can't even keep up with them because there's new ones like every 6 months. I mean, at one point it was Lady Gaga. Now there's another one that's really big. You know who I'm talking about?
Taylor Swift?
No, this is after Taylor Swift.
I can't keep up either, I can tell you. There's someone called something Carpenter, and I was thinking
Carpenter. That's
is
it.
she related to the Carpenters? She's not, is she?
No, no, not at all. Not in the least. She's actually trying to outdo Madonna in terms of sleaziness and how sexy can I be, or how provocative. Because really, it's not even really about sex. It's about being provocative, and shocking people.
Yeah.
Now, so I was born in France, and in France in 18th century, they had something called épater les bourgeois, which means shock the bourgeoisie.
Right.
And what it was is the artists and musicians of that time period, that was how they got notoriety, and so then they would be invited to go into the parlors of the higher society, because this guy, this painter, or this musician, or whatever, or writer, was talking about such outlandish things that it shocked the bourgeoisie, but the bourgeoisie wanted to hear more. It's kind of like, okay, shock us, but tell us more, because it was exciting. And I think this woman that you mentioned, Carpenter, I mean, that's what she does. I mean, I was watching a video. She's got the British Union Jack behind her as the set, I guess, and she's sitting there like half naked with her legs spread, and I'm thinking, what does this have to do with music?
Nothing.
No, but it's her way, I guess.
Yeah.
You
I
can
always,
watch it. So,
I always used to think like, I mean, I grew up in the '80s and everything, and like Madonna was the shocking thing back then. And you now look at it like Lady Gaga and that, they're just basically just copying. It's nothing fresh. It's nothing new. It's just
no,
replayed. It's like boring,
she's
really.
another, yeah, she's another Madonna,
Yeah.
younger though, because the real Madonna got old. So the 25 and the 30-year-olds don't want to see her anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and that's the beauty about playing guitar and all that. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can get up there and you can rock out. You're
Yeah.
cool. You know,
So
uh, it's not like I think being a singer is a little more difficult because you're singing from your core.
yeah,
So if you're Robert Plant or David Coverdale and you can't hit those really high notes, you're gonna have like every punter in the crowd going, he's not as good as he used to be. He
of
can't
course.
he can't hit those notes. You know, you're playing guitar. I mean, as long as you don't have arthritis or anything, you can still wail out.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to go back to Out of the Darkness. So, are there going to be any more single releases before release date? Are the plans?
Yes, I really think there should be at least one. And well, let me turn the question to you. Which one should be the next one?
Underneath the Velvet Sky.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
it's fantastic. Yeah,
And
brilliant. I think that's just a fantastic song. And like I said to you earlier, I think back in the day that would be a heavy rotation on MTV. I mean, listening to that is one I just keep going back to all the time.
right. Do
Yeah.
you think do you think that it might give the wrong impression of the whole album though if they hear that and they might would they possibly think, oh, this is going to be more like Doc and than what it is, or more like
Oh yeah, because it is darker, isn't it? I guess all the other tracks are a lot darker, but I don't know. It's just I just find it just sort of something about that
I,
song. You
well,
know?
you want to know something? I totally agree with you, by the way. I
Yeah.
do. My other preferred one would be the greater good. Do you know that
Oh,
one
that
at
was the
all?
one I was going to ask you about that one as well. Yes, I was going to ask you questions about that, about the lyrical content of that.
Yeah,
It sort of applies a lot to what's going on in the world, as well as being with the theme within the album. Yeah.
yeah, I would say so. And it's a lot of it is about not accepting the platitude that someone can just wants you to do something and they give the reason, well, don't worry about it. It's for the greater good. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, we want you to do this particular thing. You have to go to Siberia and fight someone. We'll tell you who it is when you get there, or
Yeah.
you, or you have to take a shot, or take this medicine, or you have to do this, or you have to believe that this particular group of people is your enemy because we tell you that
Yeah.
they're your enemy. And then they justify it by saying, well, it's for the greater good.
Exactly.
And so the song, I mean, lyric wise, I'm basically saying there is no greater good. If someone tells you it's for the greater good, walk the other way.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that one. Yeah, that's like a thinker. Yeah, I think.
There are actually, there's actually, I believe, 10, 10 tracks and 3 bonus tracks. So I'm not really sure because I have not received a copy of the album
Right.
and I've received what you have. So I'm not really sure, but I know it's a long album.
Hmm.
And maybe they don't want it to be that long, because a lot of times, sometimes it gets too weighty and you kind of lose the thread. So maybe I know there's going to be some bonus tracks though.
Hand of Doom. Yeah, maybe then that'll be good as a single release. Next one.
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
love that song, and I love Velvet Sky. So we're on the same page, and I think it's good that when you're a songwriter and a musician, um, you know which of the ones that you've given birth to are going to flourish, you
Yeah,
know, and, and find acceptance in by people, you know. So those two songs, I believe, will find acceptance. Just like "Rise Up" was a good introduction to the album. I don't think it was the best song on the album, but I think it was a really strong introduction. And I think that that's why Giles, the singer, and the record company also, I think they wanted to come out with a bang, you know, like a no nonsense, you know, something that no one could really fault
yeah,
and say, oh, it was too long, or it was too esoteric, or it was, you know, this is just something that smacks you in the face and says, we're here. You know,
brilliant.
kind of like the first single by The Who, Can't Explain. You know, you hear, bah, bah, you know, and it's like, you really got me. First song by the Kinks, you know. Uh, and I think, you know, I think the Who had better songs than Can't Explain. But that one,
Definitely. Yeah, great.
yeah, you know, I mean, and same thing with the Kinks. But
Yeah,
you really got me. It was just so anthemic, you know.
it
So,
was.
so I think that Giles made the right decision. You know, instead of putting all our eggs all our golden eggs in the same basket, you know, there's better stuff that is coming in my opinion. You know.
Brilliant. So hopefully with success with this album, are the hopes that you may be able to get over to Europe and do a mini tour? Is that up on the cards, do you think?
Yes, I really do. And it will happen. It's not even if, it will happen. Uh, it needs to happen. It needs to happen because these songs cry out, play me live. They're written that way. You know, they've got hooks, you know, you know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
there's definitely like some hooks and on top of that, they're not super difficult to play. Now, this is a weird thing coming from a musician to make that admission, but my previous album, actually, my two previous albums with my band Burning Starr, they're very difficult songs to play. They have all kinds of time changes, all kinds of weird parts, bridges, two bridges in one song, intro, sometimes two intros. Um, this is a more straightforward album,
Yeah.
and it feels so nice to be part of something that's straightforward. You know, I love it. You know, if anything, I would even want to be more straightforward. If there ever was an Out of the Darkness Part 3, I would want it to be, you know, even more streamlined, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, again, I want to congratulate you on the album. Let's hope you do get over for a tour. That would be great. Um, Thank you so much for your time today. Do you have any final words for your fans, our viewers, and listeners?
Well, I want to thank everyone for their support, you know, because it's harder to support Jack Starr or Burning Star or any of the bands that I've been in, Virgin Steel or whatever. It's harder to support that than to support AC/DC or, you know, a band when you walk into a record store and there's going to be a 6-foot cardboard cutout of the latest album. So
Yeah.
in my case, you're going to have to dig a little bit. You have to do a little bit of work to like Jack Starr or to like Burning Star or in Virgin Steel. You know, you got to go through the import section. You have to find the store that's going to carry it.
Yeah.
You have to read, you know, some magazines that are really about, you know, heavy metal. So I want to thank people that have done the work to find out about me and to support me and to like me. I love you guys, and I hope to see you on tour.